morning and happy Saturday, you guys. It is Amanda and Barron with Kickin'Cancer Cares on KSLM Radio, 104.3 FM and 1220 AM. Our sponsor for this first half is Odd Moe's Pizza. So last week I got the Bull Rider one, the barbecue chicken one.
You don't like pineapples, but you got the Bull Rider anyway.
It's the barbecue chicken one. I don't do the pineapples, but Bo does. Okay. But this week he was like, no, I want the Hawaiian one. It's his absolute favorite. So I looked it up. Let's see, where did it go? The Sweet Spot Hawaiian.
Okay.
So that's got extra Canadian bacon.
You keep reminding me that pineapples don't belong on pizza.
They don't. Extra pineapple. Extra cheese and breakfast bacon with their red sauce. It's not my absolute favorite, but it's my husband's favorite. And he's like, okay, you do your favorite every single time.
Oh, so you gave in.
What about me? And it was like, okay, fair enough. So we're doing the Hawaiian one today from Odd Moe's. So thank you, Mike, from Odd Moe's. I'm going to call it in and just swing in and pick it up and make lunch super easy for our family today.
Nice.
So,
well, I am thrilled, absolutely thrilled with the guest that we have on the show today.
Yes.
I want to introduce Jennifer Maldonado. You are the head of the Pancreatic Cancer Society for Oregon. Is that a correct title?
Not quite. I'm the mission chair for the Portland affiliate of PanCan.
I like Mike.
Yes, but you know.
You promoted her.
Yes.
And then Sue Best, what is your role within PanCan?
I am a volunteer, help facilitate a monthly support group with Stephanie for people who have pancreatic cancer or their families.
Yeah. And we'll get into more of this later in the show, but even the bigger part is Sue is a pancreatic cancer survivor.
Okay. Wow. Awesome.
And there's not many, so we're thrilled to have Sue with us.
Okay, perfect.
So those are our two guests.
Awesome.
And it's a bit fortuitous that last week we had Jason Holt.
Oh, yes.
And we were all wearing purple last week.
That's right.
And we brought awareness last week to the fact that it's Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the zebras, what was your big takeaway last week?
Well, that was my big takeaway. I think just not overstressing your body and trying to, and I know that kind of goes in with the zebra thing, but I've been applying it to myself this week on letting go of the what ifs, and just rolling with the punches, I guess you could say. Well,
I am so thrilled with what Ashley's doing. For those that are listening, go to YouTube, go to Kicking Cancer Productions, subscribe to our show. The fun things that Ashlie added to last week's show. Like, we were talking about anxiety and stress. There's a little cartoon of this guy going, I got so much anxiety. It was just so much fun.
Yes.
But you know, it's interesting about the zebras because that was a big takeaway for me.
Yeah.
Because I am that zebra that would escape the lion and going, what if there was two lions? What if the lion came from behind that tree? What, what all these what ifs?
Yeah.
And that's why zebras don't get ulcers.
And then I think also the flowers, how they absorb the food dye and the coloring, and it reflects on the flower petals, which I think when we eat bad food, it's going to reflect on our body and it's going to take its toll on us. So what we put in our body is important.
Yeah.
You are what you eat.
You are what you eat.
Thank you, Ashlie.
Well, segue queen, you are what you eat. Thank you for leading me into my next topic.
You're welcome. I'm just kidding. It was all Ashlie.
For Jennifer and Sue, we've been going through this Time magazine. It's called 100 Disease-Fighting Foods, and I just found it at a grocery store stand. But today's food is onions.
Oh, I love onions.
Really?
I do.
Okay.
Me too.
Jam.
Oh,
onion jam?
So good, yeah.
I've never heard of onion jam.
Yes.
If you like charcuterie.
Well, what the book says is, like garlic, onions are alliums. Both are packed with antioxidants, including the flavonoid, and I'm probably going to slaughter this word, but I think it's keratin.
Okay.
Which may play a role in suppressing cancer.
Oh, all right.
I mean, that's pretty powerful to say that onions are suppressing cancer. A study in Italy and Switzerland found that the more people ate garlic and onions, the lower their rates of cancer.
Okay.
And less chance of vampires, too, by the way.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Most importantly.
Yeah. Scientists also think onions may reduce cholesterol and fight obesity.
Okay.
So onions are definitely a very powerful food.
I can eat a bowl of them. Oh, yeah, the Mediterranean diet. Yep. What I do with them is I'll cut up a handful of onions and put them in my, a pan. and with garlic and a little bit of olive oil and butter, and then chicken stock.
Oh.
And let them simmer down and just cook down, and I will eat it just like that with nothing else.
The onions, huh?
I love onions.
Well, it was funny what Jason said last week. We had okra was our food last week.
Yeah.
And Jason has a master's in nutrition. And he said it's interesting how many of these super foods that we're finding now are just stuff that we probably should have been eating for a long time anyway.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, my update for you actually kind of goes with the shirt that I'm wearing today.
Yes,
This is my Russ Rocks
Russ Rocks.
shirt. Russ lives here locally. And it was 2 years ago in November that he informed me that he had skin cancer on the bottom of his foot. And it was malignant melanoma, basically metastatic skin cancer. Treatment started. It moved up his leg into his thigh. They thought they had it stopped, but they didn't. It got into his lungs. Now it's into his brain.
Oh, my goodness.
And so we announced last week that first quarter we're going to make this the Russ Rocks rock concert. And I am thrilled to tell you it will be on February the 8th.
Okay.
And we found a band.
Perfect.
And you'll love the name of the band. They're called Kickstar.
Kickstar. I love it.
At the Kickin'Cancer concert.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
The last piece is we're trying to just nail down the location for the concert. But it'll be the February the 8th. And the band that we play is Kickstar.
Okay.
And there will be 4 ways people can get involved. If you are a business and you would like to help sponsor the shirt, your logo will go on the back of the shirt. And there's 3 sponsorship levels. Basically, the more you sponsor, the bigger your logo is on the back of the shirt. As the shirts are created, you buy a shirt. $10 of every shirt goes to Russ.
Oh, okay.
You'll buy a ticket for the concert. That will go to Russ. And we're going to have auction items at the concert. So you come in and go, oh, I want that basket.
Yep.
I've already had one business. They're going to donate a wonderful trip to Central Oregon.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Okay. All
And
right. February 8th. What time?
February 8th. To be determined.
Okay.
We got to get that.
I gotta mark my calendar.
We got to get
I
the
want that
location
trip.
pinned down. But more than likely, the auction will start at 5, and the cost will start at 6. That's
Perfect.
the tentative plan.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that we now know how much money we're trying to raise.
Okay.
$10,000.
Perfect.
Wow.
Awesome.
All right. I love it.
That's how much Russ is backlogged on medical bills.
Yeah.
So the goal is to raise enough money that
Well,
he can then get these medical bills caught back up
Yeah.
again.
Hopefully we can blow 10,000 out of the water so that he can have a little bit of extra cushion for, I'm sure, upcoming
Yeah.
bills.
Yeah. Well, Russ is very well liked in many communities. He's a very positive person.
He
and so
is.
we just want to be there for him.
Okay.
So-
Perfect. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, I want to shift back to November.
Okay.
Here we
November
are.
we go.
Here we are, basically halfway through November. Our wonderful ladies here represent the Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. And I'm bringing a book back that I've referenced in the past.
Yes.
So interestingly enough, this book was written in 1993.
Okay.
This book is already 30 years old. And I found the chapter in here on pancreatic cancer. Okay. So again, these numbers are 30 years old. But I know Sue and I talked to, or sorry, Jennifer and I talked about some more recent numbers. 30 years ago, nearly 25,000 Americans died from pancreatic cancer, and 28,300 were diagnosed. The illness was found in men about 50% more often than women.
Oh, wow.
Any idea why? Why more men than women? Is there a correlation there that you know of, Jennifer?
I don't. I think that generally men are at higher risk than women, but I don't know that.
Well, there's
that
also
cause.
culturally how women's and men's concerns and complaints are heard by providers. And so sometimes women's are not listened to as much as men's, but it may be how people tell their providers of what's going on.
Yeah.
And so it's a combination of things.
Yeah. Well, and again, this is 30 years ago.
Right.
Now, a little more recent information for you, because you coined the phrase, I don't let grass grow, right? So
We don't.
This year, 66,440 new cases,
Wow.
which is almost 3 times as many as 30 years ago.
Yeah.
51,750 people are predicted to pass during 2024.
Wow. Just from pancreatic cancer?
Just from pancreatic. And Jennifer did let me know that this is the number 3 cause of death when it comes to cancers
Wow.
In the States, yeah.
in the States.
Okay.
Now, you mentioned the States. I decided to look for some global numbers.
Okay.
So in 2020, globally, 90% of deaths after 55 years old were pancreatic cancer.
Really?
Yeah. Over 55, 90% of the deaths were attributed to pancreatic cancer globally.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Europe alone, that one country, 29% of Europe's deaths came from pancreatic cancer.
Okay. That's bizarre.
That's kind of a shocking
Yeah.
number.
He almost wants to, I want to dig and find out why.
Well, don't give me homework.
Okay.
But the one good thing, and this all sounds very doom and gloom, but one of the things that Sue brought up just a little bit ago before we started recording, this is the good news. The 5-year survival rate used to be, you say
5%.
5%. Currently, the 5-year survival rate is 13%.
Woo. So it's over doubled.
It's getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's making progress.
And we'll dive into some of that from Jennifer's perspective. But 13%, as Sue said so well, 13% doesn't sound great, but for those
But it
8% that are surviving, it sounds amazing.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
A lot
we'll
of
take
people.
what we can get.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to bring out from the book before I close the book up is this book is really interesting when it gives some medical evidence. And so there's a study that was done in 1968, just a few years ago,
Yes.
in Japan. And in that study, they found that the mortality in men there was a direct association between high meat consumption and pancreatic cancer.
Oh. Okay.
Okay?
And I feel like men eat meat more than women do in general.
Well, especially in the States.
Yeah.
But this is Japan.
Oh. Okay.
In 1975, they did a study that showed a direct correlation between sugar intake and pancreatic mortality rates. And then in 1977, they did another study in Japan, and they reported that men who ate meat daily had 2.5 times more likely chance of getting pancreatic cancer.
Huh.
So your diet does really reflect on your pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
There's a phrase, and hopefully I'll say this phrase right. It's called an epidemiological study. I think I said that right?
You said that
you
right.
said it
Sounded
great.
great.
Nailed it.
Epidemiological study. And basically what they're doing is they're taking groups of people.
Yes.
Okay? So the study is not just the math. They're trying to find a specific group of people. So I find this study intriguing because it was done in 1980, and they decided to look at the Mormon faith specifically. Who the Mormon faith has a dietary guideline. So it says that their diet is supposed to be, not all Mormons, but
Right.
supposed to be high in whole grains, vegetables, and fruits, moderate in meat, and low in stimulants like caffeine
Right.
and alcohol and tobacco. So the ones that were adhering to that guideline had less pancreatic cancer than the general population.
Okay.
The men were 36% less. The women were 19% less.
Wow.
The high church officials who adhered to that more heavily,
Right.
53% less chance of pancreatic cancer because of those dietary standards.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. We are what we eat.
We are what we eat. So,
Simple as that.
and I'm going to throw our little tidbit to the listeners.
Okay.
Okay. Again, for those that have been paying attention, if you hear this and email Amanda
At Amanda at kslm.news.
or you can reach out to me, either one, and just let us know this little tidbit I'm going to tell you. You're not going to like this.
Okay.
I'm just going to warn you right now. You're not going to like this. This was a study that was done in 1981.
No
Okay.
pizza, it's going to say. Yeah.
It was studied in 1981. It was done at Harvard School of Public Health. Fairly reputable place to
Oh,
do
yeah.
a study. And it was published in the New England Journal of Medicine.
Okay.
People who drink a cup of coffee a day.
I need to just mute you. Where's the mute? You back here like, oh, man.
I'm in trouble
If
also.
you drink
too.
a cup of coffee a day, are nearly twice as likely to develop pancreatic cancer. I didn't like that because I have a cup of coffee in the morning.
It's the first thing I do.
I know.
But you need to also look at what is the incidence of pancreatic cancer, and so it's not twice what that twice means.
Right. So this is really good. I'm glad you did that, Sue, because statistics are what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, coffee lovers, ever wondered if your daily cup of joe could be putting you at risk for cancer? Well, let's dive into the facts and bust some myths. First off, let's talk about pancreatic cancer. Multiple meta-analyses have found zero significant association between coffee consumption and an increased risk of pancreatic cancer. That's right, no need to panic over your morning brew. The American Institute for Cancer Research did a thorough review back in 2012. Their conclusion? Coffee, even decaf, does not up your risk of pancreatic cancer. So whether you're into a strong espresso or a smooth decaf, you're in the clear. A fascinating 2002 Swedish cohort study of twins even suggested that coffee might be protective, especially for those drinking 7 or more cups a day. Now, that's a lot of coffee, but it's good news for heavy coffee drinkers. While older studies hinted that coffee could be a risk factor, recent research just doesn't back that up. In fact, outside of cigarette smoke, there aren't many environmental factors linked to pancreatic cancer risk. Here's another cool fact. Coffee contains over 1,000 phytochemicals. These compounds have potential therapeutic effects, including antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and even anti-cancer properties. So, next time someone tries to scare you away from your favorite brew, you can sip with confidence. Coffee isn't just delicious, it could be doing you some good. Thanks for watching.
But you ladies deal with this on a more regular basis. So what are your insights? Sue, you had a thought there. Go ahead and keep rolling with that thought.
Well, there is a lot of data, and it's really trying to take any data that you have in context, in terms of the person, in terms of the things that you're evaluating, in terms of what the goal of the study is, the population is, the size of the study. So there are many things that go into a study to make it some more valid than others, and some with a broader range of people who participated than others. So there's a lot of different things to take into consideration. Always the best thing is to look for sources that if you go on Dr. Google, there's a lot of things you'll find that maybe aren't as reputable or helpful. Mm-hmm. So often what we advise, because I'm also serve as an oncology and palliative care social worker, is look at sites like the National Cancer Institute, the Mayo Clinic, New England Journal of Medicine. So sources that we know are reliable and will have content that is solid. And so it's really looking at the sites of places that have a reputation for being well-known and well-studied.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts there, Jennifer?
Well, it's the one thing that stood out to me there, the whole, you are what you eat, and the studies connected to that. I just, there is, it's an early detection initiative that PanCan is talking about a lot, and it does have to do with the connection between high blood sugar and pancreatic cancer. And they just realized they found a subset of people who have like new onset diabetes, and they're tracking those people, and because they have found in that subset that the diabetes was caused by a pancreatic tumor. So they're going to track those people for 3 years. I think I read that, with imaging and blood tests to see if they can detect the pancreatic cancer in those folks, and then from that develop screening methods. And so I feel like, yes, there is a connection with the high blood sugar and your diet, and people just don't realize how much it impacts. And so, that's just one study, but the early detection is so important, and kind of combining with some of those, studies and new discoveries with what blood sugar is and what you eat.
You brought up the diabetes. Kickin'Cancer was formed in November of 2018, so we're 6 years old, and that initial board of directors, we were trying to create a flyer that could get our messaging out there, and I said, if we can narrow down 3 things, just 3 easy bullet points we can start doing. So our first flyer was literally, what are 3 things we could do? And I found a report that was done by the National Diabetes Association, and it said that 1 in 10 in the world now have type 2 diabetes.
Wow.
10 million people globally, and that study is a few years old now, but 10 million people globally have type 2 diabetes. And then what it said is that if you have type 2 diabetes, it doubles your chances of pancreatic cancer.
Wow.
So our tip was to consume less sugar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because your pancreas is designed to help filter sugar, and we're putting so much sugar in our body that our pancreas just can't do it all, right? So it's interesting you brought up diabetes. Now, what I love what you brought up is the pancreatic cancer is just so hard to detect in those early stages. And anyone that I know a couple here in town that have survived because something happened to indicate there was a problem. The one I'm thinking of, the tumor was pressed against her liver, and she went to work and she was very jaundiced, very yellow, and they all said, "You don't look okay." So she goes in, sure enough, they detected the pancreatic cancer. And that's going to weigh a lot into Sue's story too. But that early detection is just so difficult, isn't it, Jennifer?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's a combination of the fact that the pancreas is where it is, kind of deep in the abdomen, where, symptoms could be any number of gastrointestinal issues, and the symptoms are vague. Like my sister-in-law, who passed in 2022, her symptoms were pain in kind of near her ribs. She thought she had pulled a muscle, and blood tests and other tests came back normal, and then she had a CT scan that showed the tumor. So knowing the symptoms, although they are vague, and acting upon them is super important. Yes.
Well, before we started recording, we were just doing a little research together, and there was an interesting connection that I made with Amanda, because your son didn't have pancreatic cancer.
He did not.
But the pancreas is definitely involved in what your son went through.
He had a partial pancreatectomy, partial Whipple procedure, because he had to have 70% of his pancreas removed because he had a focal lesion in it that was producing too much insulin. So we flew him to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia.
Well, and the other important part is, how old was your son when he was going through this?
He was born, newborn. Wow. So he had his surgery.
It's a very rare story. Yeah.
It was very, and I didn't know just how, I guess, intense his surgery was, and I didn't realize what pancreatic cancer was then.
You were 18 years old.
I turned 18 over there, yes. And so I can relate to a lot of bits and pieces of it because of his journey, although it's not cancer, but it affected the pancreas very much so. So he just has the tail end of his pancreas left, and eventually he'll become diabetic, is what they tell us. And his duodenum died off during surgery because it was... it lost its blood supply for so long. So,
yeah. In fact, we pulled up the image, which I'm sure right now that image is probably showing up on YouTube. I know Ashlie well enough, but it's an image of what a pancreas looks like. And I had no idea until she and I did some research for this show what the pancreas looks like and the parts that your son had taken off.
How important it is, and
So, and I know you were describing this to me, but Jennifer, what is the function of the pancreas? What's its job inside the body?
Well, it helps with, I wrote it down, digesting enzymes.
I threw that
and thanks a lot.
I'm sorry.
And regulating, blood sugar and hormones.
Creates insulin.
Creates insulin, yes. And so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I apologize. I should have warned you.
She's not a doctor, and she doesn't play one on TV either, right?
I apologize. Well, I do like the answer that you gave.
Oh.
Now, and it was the analogy you gave, and I'm throwing everybody off, so I'm the bad guy right now. But you said basically food comes to the pancreas, and the pancreas goes, oh, that needs to go here, and that needs to go here, and that needs to go here, and so your pancreas is determining where food should go in the body. Am I restating?
I think that's the duodenum at least that's what I was under the impression of, is that's what, and the pancreas and the duodenum kind of work together very much so.
So it's a very important
all of it is important.
It's a very important organ in the body. But I think the biggest message I'm hearing from all you guys is that where the pancreas is located is hard to see. It's hard to detect.
Oh, yeah.
And so a lot of times when the cases come, they're already stage 3 or stage 4 before we can start attacking it. So,
is there like an annual checkup that people can do, or a scan?
No, that's the problem.
That is a problem.
There is no screening or early detection tests?
There are, so for
ahead.
people that are at risk, there are tests. For example, there are certain women that have a type of breast cancer that predisposes them, especially women of Ashkenazi Jewish heritage, who are likely to have a gene that can lead to other cancers besides breast cancer. It could be ovarian cancer, pancreatic cancer. So I have a friend who is of that heritage, had breast cancer, and so she has special tests to check her pancreas on a routine basis.
Do you remember when we had Derek from the OHSU Institute here?
Yeah.
That's what they're doing at that Night Institute, is they're trying to find those markers that Sue's talking about that says you have that marker.
Yeah.
You probably should get tested.
I just wish there was more
well, and there are things,
public.
And so the good news is, and that's the fantastic role of PanCan, is they're funding incredible amounts of research. For example, at OHSU alone, they have a pancreatic center, and they're doing just groundbreaking research, so that there is hopes that we will find a blood test that will detect it earlier. The abdominal cavity can accommodate a lot, an oncologist explained to me, so that you can't maybe, oh, I feel bloated, oh, I have abdominal discomfort, but as you said, it could be lots of things. So our bodies hide things, and it isn't often until there's something, that tipping point, right? Someone gets jaundiced, someone has intense pain that you would think to look. It's not a common cancer, so it's not like a screening you would do for mammograms and breast cancer or colonoscopies. So,
well, I know that we're running close on time, but I do see your hat that you have sitting here, Sue, and that says hope on the front of the hat. And there's a phrase that you guys use, Jennifer. What's the phrase that you guys use?
Wage hope.
Wage hope.
Yes.
But what I want to do on the second half of the show is I want to share a couple of stories, and one of them is sitting here with us.
Okay, perfect.
To wage some hope.
So really quick, I'm going to give a shout out to Mike from Oddmo's Pizza. They have amazing pizza, fresh ingredients. They even have a cauliflower crust. They've got vegan options. They're not just an ordinary pizza place. They are absolutely amazing, and I love their green monster, which is just full of artichokes and all healthy stuff. And it's phenomenal on the cauliflower crust. So Oddmo's Pizza for dinner and lunch tonight, guys. All right, we'll be right back. You guys stay tuned.